Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR, and we have got the Luke Fickell contract extension to talk about in this episode. So here's how it's going to go. Zach and I, during the call-in shows, we were waiting for people to call in. We recorded ourselves talking about the Luke Fickell situation. There were a couple more things I wanted to add to it, so I'm introing this show, asking you please do like, subscribe if you're listening on podcast, give us a 5-star rating. That always helps us out. Also, if you would, please comment any of your thoughts on the Luke Fickell stuff as well. This is just kind of our reactions, me and Zach. We didn't go super deep into the research with it, but we felt like we went deep enough that we could do a video on it. So these are me and Zach's reactions. After the video is over, I do have some stuff that I want to add to it, and then that'll be the video from there. So let's go ahead and check out me and Zach's conversation, and then I'll add some stuff at the end. Luke Fickell has been given an extension by Wisconsin for a year, and this was obviously unexpected. This was something that, if you listen to this show, people are asking me and Zach, like, how long of a leash do you think Luke Fickell has? Like, what does he have to do this year? This is a very tough schedule coming up, all this kind of stuff. And so people, not just Wisconsin fans, but people elsewhere are also just kind of wondering, like, what is going to happen to Luke Fickell? Because he's supposed to be much better than what he's been. 12 and 13 in his 2 years at Wisconsin so far. Zach, I want to know, like, what do you make of the extension? What do you make of Luke Fickell, his time at Wisconsin? Just get into that. Like, what do you make of all this?
Yeah, I think a lot of people will see the extension and be like, what is Wisconsin doing? And the answer is they're doing what they always do, which is there's a customary year bump every year with their coaches. It happened with Chris. It happened with guys before that. They just had, I think you and I were talking pre-show, this is what their board does every year. And so this is not abnormal. I think it maybe it gives Fickell a little bit more leash. It may not, quite honestly. Like, if he goes 4-8, I still think it's on the table that he gets fired. I just think what they're doing is they're not making it weird. They're not making it weird to be like, hey, Fick, you're coaching for your job. They're just like, okay, like, we're still investing in you right now. I think it actually speaks louder that they're not giving him more. Like, they're not really increasing things. They're not really, like, it's not a 5-year extension, right? Like, I forget what Ryan Day got, but it's, it's not that. It's a customary year bump, minimal raises, minimal, like, it's not like a massive endorsement. It's more just like, we're still invested in you right now.
Yeah, no, totally. I agree. I think that this was just something that, like, I would be more concerned if news came out that all of these coaches, because it wasn't just Luke Fickell, if I'm not mistaken, like, a soccer coach got an extension. And, like, so there were some people saying, like, why did they extend Luke Fickell but not Greg Gard? Well, this is also just kind of the way that Wisconsin operates. They typically have a meeting for all of their fall sports, and the coaches there, that's where they do their extensions. And so after all the winter sports are over, that's when they'll meet, they'll talk about them, and you'll most likely see Greg Gard get a much bigger extension after this year because of what he's been able to do this year with having a first team All-American on his team, developing John Blackwell. I know this isn't, always a basketball talk here, but, like, that's the kind of stuff you're going to see with Greg Gard because of what he's done that's been so well. Luke Fickell, to me, this tells me that this is kind of their way of saying, like, you're not in trouble next year. Like, we have no plans of firing you next year, right? His buyout just got bigger. He got a year longer extension. What this tells me is this is Wisconsin recognizing that the Phil Longo situation wasn't great. He just had both his starting quarterbacks 2 years in a row get injured, and they're going to let him reset with Jeff Grimes, right? And we haven't talked a lot about the offensive coordinator addition of Jeff Grimes. Maybe this is the time that we need to talk about it more. But as far as I'm concerned, like, Jeff Grimes is the hire you make to end the, like, evolution of the offense experience, right?
Yeah.
Like, at Kansas, he was very much so run the ball and, control the game clock. And I think that's probably what you're going to see from Wisconsin this year. You have a good number of offensive linemen returning. You have a good quarterback in Billy Edwards Jr. He's not great. He's not, I wouldn't say he's bad, but he's good, right? He's a veteran who's going to be reliable for you. But at the end of the day, this is an extension that tells Wisconsin fans Luke Fickell's not going anywhere. We're going to give him time.
Yeah, it's, and Yankee, in the chat, he has.
You pull it up, Zach. You got the ability now. You pull it up. I'm not doing it for you.
I have power.
I am not your comment. I am not your comment slave anymore. All right,
I have power. Oh, this is not good, JR. You shouldn't have told me this. But Yankee says they added 2031. Wouldn't just saying you're doing a good job. Keep it up. Been good enough. I think because of Wisconsin's culture, no, because their track has been they give everybody a year extension every year. And so if you want to, and people joke about it, right? Like, oh, the dreaded vote of confidence, right? Because, if you get a vote of confidence, it's not really a vote of confidence. But it kind of is that. So I think that's probably the concern that I would have if I'm Fickell. Is it's like, again, it's good in that they're invested, but it's not great. Here's one other concern that I have. You were talking about Jeff Grimes. Like, he's not great. Like, he was at Baylor for a few years and got dismissed after 2023. I mean, the team was regressing in general, but he was at Kansas, and Kansas wasn't great this year. So I don't know. Like, I know we're talking about the extension. It's a huge year for Fickell. Like, there's just no doubt about it. So.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like, from everything we've heard from behind the scenes with what's going on at Wisconsin, like, the biggest thing was, like, Luke Fickell didn't get along with Phil Longo. And if you don't get along, if you're not calling the plays that Luke Fickell wants you to call, like, obviously Luke Fickell's more of a defensive guy. He's not going to be somebody that, dabbles in the offense too much. But we saw what happened when Ryan Day started dabbling more into the defense. Jim Knowles left. Like, That's what happens, right? If you are being told you have the ability to do your job, but somebody starts dabbling, you're probably going to leave, or you're probably going to be told you need to leave if things aren't going well. The difference with Ohio State was things were going well for the defense after that Oregon game when Ryan Day started to dabble and Jim Knowles did, what he wanted him to do. So. Any other thoughts next season? Like, I mean, Wisconsin fans, like, if you're a Wisconsin fan, let's do this really quick and then we'll get to our call. If you're a Wisconsin fan, like, put yourself in their shoes for a minute. Does this make you happy? Does this make you think, oh, they have trust in Luke Fickell, so maybe I should too? Or are you just mad? Like, where are you at if you're a Wisconsin fan?
I honestly, it's kind of ho-hum. Like, if this is what they expect, then it's kind of like business as usual. And I think that's how they've been. Like, Yankee, said recently, you said if he won 5 games this year, he'd be in trouble. Like, I think Wisconsin fans are probably there. I think it's a wait and see. So, like, I don't.
Yeah, like, to me, it says he'd be in trouble with the fans, maybe not so much with the administration.
I don't know. Remember Chris Holtman, we talked about Chris Holtman off air. I think he got, the extension, and then halfway through the season, he got canned. And it was because of poor performance, and it was like things didn't change. And so I think if the same thing happens again, I could be wrong. I'm not sure this guarantees Luke Fickell 2 years. I think it could, but I think if I'm a Wisconsin fan, I'm looking at this as
All right, so that was our conversation. I did, not that I thought anything we said was wrong, but I did want to add to it that, you know, Luke Fickell is recruiting at a good level right now, too. His very first class coming in is a top 25 class. And then the transfer portal class this year was impressive as well. Brought in a number of good players. You did lose some players, but that's to be expected. Down year, you're going to lose some guys. Firing your offensive coordinator, that happens. But they brought in a good amount of players through the transfer portal. They had a good recruiting class, and I think it was also a big deal that they were able to not just bring in star offensive linemen, but they were able to recruit some of these offensive linemen over, other schools that would have normally got them. And two of their top three players, at least on 24/7, are from Florida. So these aren't just guys you're getting from the Midwest, but Luke Fickell is increasing the recruiting footprint of Wisconsin, and that has to give you hope for the future as well. So if the thought process there is, and we don't know exactly what it is, but if the thought process there is, we like the direction things are going, maybe it hasn't shown up on the field yet, but we believe here in the next 2 years it will. We know this is going to be a crazy hard year with the schedule. I mean, you see a number of really good teams. Alabama, I believe you have Ohio State and Oregon on the schedule as well, and I don't think it stops there. I think there's other ones I just can't remember off the top of my head. But it's if not the toughest, the second toughest schedule in the Big Ten this season. I tend to believe it's the toughest in the Big Ten, but that's just me. But then in addition to that, I mean, he's going outside of Wisconsin too. His fourth best recruit was Nolan Davenport, an offensive lineman, a tackle from Ohio. Now, only a three-star kid, but still, I mean, if you know anything about offensive linemen, it's all about development. As long as they have the size, and that's what you need. 6'6", 260 for Nolan Davenport. Give him a couple years, he'll be up there, and he'll be able to be on that line of scrimmage. So I wanted to add that recruiting piece to it. Let us know what you guys think. Do you guys think that Wisconsin made the right decision? Do you think they made the wrong decision? I know Nebraska and Minnesota fans in particular have been saying great hire or great extension, and I get that. It's all in good fun. But I do think that Luke Fickell is still a really good coach. Things haven't gone well for him lately, but as far as I'm concerned, he's still a good coach in the Big Ten. And I think the Big Ten has a lot of good coaches right now. So even though he might not be top six in the Big Ten for me right now, I mean, Lincoln Riley is the top six for me. Sharon Moore is the top six for me. These are all good coaches. And I think that's the thing. Like, as far as I'm concerned, probably 16 of the 18 coaches in the Big Ten, I think, are probably top 30, top 35 coaches in the country. And I just think that's one of the reasons why the Big Ten has so much hope. The Big Ten has so much promise to not only be the best conference for a year or two, but to be the best conference overall, for, a number of years here as we go into the future. And if Wisconsin can get this hire right and the extension and Luke Fickell right, keeping him around, that's going to be huge for them. And it's going to be huge for the Big Ten. So Wisconsin fans, do good with Luke Fickell. Keep supporting the program, because that's the biggest thing, is the program just needs your support. So thanks everybody for listening. I appreciate it. We'll see you next time.